Okay. I'm going to take a minute to speak about some things that for a little while I won't necessarily say they weighed heavily, but it's been kind of annoying to see. It's been it's a little it's a little off-putting. It's very strange, in fact. I've been seeing the way stuff has been moving on like social media stuff, how um, influencers and people in that class of citizen have taken what I personally feel to be some fairly simple matters, fairly simple matters, and turned it into a bit of a circus, to be perfectly honest. Um, this situation with Mr. Beast and his co-star, co-host, I guess. I don't watch a lot of the content. I've only just recently started becoming aware that it exists. But to see the see the amount of vitriol that's come out on his co-star coming out as trans has been surprising, to say the least. Where you would think, even given the his name is Chris, um, or her name, Chris. I don't think this person has come out and said anything about what they want their pronouns to be just yet. I could be wrong about that, but we'll see what happens in the future on that front. But the main thing is Mr. Beast's co-star Chris has come out as trans. They've been trans. Apparently, they've been transitioning for the past year, I think it's been. But either way, other social media influencers, big names, millionaires, people who, for whatever fucking reason, we allow them to dictate the the flow of our culture, and the amount of hatred that has come out for a person, regardless of how famous they are, making a personal decision for themselves and acting on that personal decision, and showcasing it, I guess. It's not really even showcasing it, it's just deciding to live. This person was a public figure before. They were part of Mr. Beast's presentation. They were part of his company. They're a major part of the brand. And if Mr. Beast didn't have any issue with them transitioning, and if Mr. Beast didn't have any issue with this person staying as a part of the brand, and he wants to continue his product as is, as far as I'm concerned, there really shouldn't be. Nobody should be that concerned about it. That's really where I stand. The amount of concern that uninvolved people have on this issue baffles me. Baffles me. I can't wrap my head around how much attention this has got. It's not like it's something that's popped up on the news, but you can't turn on like Facebook or Instagram or something, the social media world, especially YouTube. Good. Especially YouTube has been inundated by this. Like, people are talking about this left and right, and even people who we are supposed to take seriously. I guess we're supposed to take them seriously. People like Ben Shapiro have dedicated whole episodes of their also multi-million-dollar entertainment, cultural entertainment franchise. They've based entire videos on this, and they have. I don't even want to call it an actual opinion. I'm going to call it an act. I don't actually believe that somebody can have that level of hatred and vitriol towards another human being making changes for their own body, even if that person is a public figure. They've made a personal decision. I won't say it's a private decision. If you've made yourself into a public figure, I think it becomes very difficult. Not impossible, just difficult. I think it's very difficult to make the claim that a decision like becoming trans is a private decision. You're a public figure at this point. So the part of this little rant where I do have to pull my own self back a little bit is the downside to becoming a public figure is there's very little in your life that you can do that won't get you riddled with criticism. And you have to be prepared for that. If you're going to become a public figure, you have to understand that any decision you make in some way, form, or format, especially if it's a visual decision, it's going to become a public matter. You just have to be prepared for that. Having said that, I would like to be fair in saying that just because a person is a public figure and a decision that they have made, which I believe we all should understand, what, like, even a public figure has a private life, even if a portion of that private life is visual to the rest of us, it's still a private decision. And having said that, there's a certain brand of commentary that is best left off the table. There's a certain way of presenting your opinion about somebody's life that should be off the table. Trivializing a person's long-standing friendship and partnership with somebody, taking their relationship out of their own context, trying to put words into their mouth, trying to describe what their relationship is going to be based on your ignorant ass opinion. That's one of those things that I really feel should be off the table. Seeing people with these takes of Chris is this person's current name? I don't think they have a dead name situation just yet. I could be wrong. I don't look into this as heavily as I should. But having said that, this person, Chris, has been labeled Mr. Beast's nightmare. And even Mr. Beast, I believe this was on a bit of a Twitter feud with some other personality figure who said, this person is going to become Mr. Beast's nightmare. And Mr. Beast had to respond to them with saying, this isn't my nightmare. It's my fucking friend. And I'd be hard pressed to see that response wouldn't be the same response that anybody would have on a similar situation. If you had a friend or a family member who was going through something really terrible, and for whatever reason, if this person was a public individual or a public speaker or somebody who puts a good chunk of their life out in, or some type of media figure, and they're going through something difficult and they decide, I'm going to showcase it, and you're standing with them and you're like, hey, I'm going to support them. You could even go so far as to say, I don't agree with the direction that they're going, but I'm going to support my friend. And then somebody comes behind that and they put up their public video and they're like, this is going to be this person's nightmare. Look how they're dragging this person down. He's trapped in this now. Which is another thing. So there are some people who are saying, like, oh, because he doesn't want to get canceled, because of so-called queer, trans, mafia, or whatever, like cancel culture shit. He's trapped. The trans movement has trapped Mr. Beast. And it's like, I highly doubt that. As far as I can tell, Mr. Beast is fairly wealthy. No, I'm not even fairly wealthy. Very wealthy, self-made man with a very successful business model, and I'm pretty fucking sure, I don't want to fall victim to my own fucking complaint, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, if Mr. Beast honestly felt like he wasn't going to support his friend, he wouldn't. Which leads me to believe that the reason he's supporting his friend would be because the word is in itself. That's his fucking friend. He's going to be a decent human being and stand with his friend, stand with somebody who he loves and supports. And that's what any of us would do. And I would dare say that if any of us were in Mr. Beast's shoes and somebody had the gall to look at our personal relationship, our friendship with somebody else, even if that person was doing something we disagreed with, even if it was that case, and to come up and like, look at how that person's trapped them, and say all this negative shit, that would be the type of person where we would be like, don't meet me in public. Like, don't see me in public, because I don't think the average person would be a reasonable person behind that. You know, there's a certain level of real world consequences that these media influencers and these so-called public figures and these people who make a name for themselves with these large platforms and these $1 million positions to open their mouths and just run bullshit on a day by day basis where that becomes their living. It strikes me as very, very strange that we live in a world now where you can become a millionaire for doing nothing more than taking a shit on someone's private decisions. Even if they're a public figure, I'll say it again, public figures do lose a little bit of the ability to say, "Stay the fuck out of my business," because part of your business is being public. It's kind of the downfall. So it's running. It's par. It's par for the territory. I believe that's the phrase. Having said that, I will go back and make a repeat on the previous thing I said. Some shit's best left unsaid. Some shit's also just best left alone. You know, this is Chris and Mr. Beast's situation, and Mr. Beast, as of now, it is in our best interest to just take him at his word. And when he says this is a friend, and I'm supporting a friend, I feel it is the right thing to do to take him at his word and be like, okay, he's supporting a friend. Whether that hurts his business or not is for time to tell, not other big mouth assholes trying to spend an extra dollar and make excessive controversy out of something that is relatively simple. A person has come to the conclusion that they're trans and has started transitioning. And if it wasn't for the fact that they were a part of Mr. Beast's entourage, if they weren't such an integral part of his business model, this would not be front page news. That's really all it is. This is a famous person who has come to the conclusion that they're trans. And because certain people, usually a lot of right-wingers, have an issue with famous people being trans because it adds visibility and normalcy to them, and it allows them to be seen as human, and it hurts their business model of turning trans people into fucking monsters, they have to do their damnedest to ensure that the world remembers, hey, remember, I wouldn't make millions of dollars if you didn't believe that trans people were monsters, so I'm going to do everything in my fucking power to make sure that trans people are monsters. I'm going to do everything in my fucking power to make sure that you believe that trans people are monsters, and that anything that mentions trans people should be seen as monstrous, should be seen as terrible, should be seen as horrible, and if any public figure becomes a trans person, I'm going to do everything in my power to make it seem like it's this really, really big conspiracy theory to make trans people a bigger thing than they actually is, because if they weren't a big thing, I would have no fucking talent that I add to the rest of the world. I'm literally just a talentless fucking hack who's trying to make money off of trans controversy, which is not actually a trans controversy. It's not a fucking controversy. It's not a controversy. It's just douchey people with nothing better to do with their lives, no real talent, no real point of positivity that they're adding to the world. They're just negative people with nothing to add. Nothing to add. That's really all it is. They are just spiteful, hateful, cruel individuals who have found a scapegoat with which they can throw all their vitriol at, and unfortunately, it works. That's really all it is. Unfortunately, it works. That so long as we allow an incredibly tiny number of people to turn a also incredibly tiny number of people, a minority like trans people, into these monsters, and we keep allowing them to do that, then they will continue to make money off of it. The truth of the matter is that this whole situation with Mr. Beast and Chris transitioning, it's not a controversy. It's one guy. It's one man, trans woman now, who's made a choice about their own body. They happen to be a public figure. And most sane people in the world would move on with their fucking life, and at best would say, I agree or disagree. If they were a subscriber and a watcher and they felt some kind of way about it, and they really felt bad about it, they would stop watching. And that would be a consequence of freedom. You know? You're free to make choices about your body, especially as a public person, especially as an individual who makes money off of making presentations and entertainment. And if people don't agree with the change in persona, they'll stop watching. And that should have been the end of that. But instead, we have political charlatans and assholes, douchebags, who will see this controversy and will, it's not a controversy, who will see this moment of our entertainment history and will spin it into a controversy so that they can profit off of making someone else's life miserable. That's really what it is. That's what actually disturbs me the most about it. Not the fact that it's happening at all, but the fact that it works. Is the fact that it works. There are people who will turn over millions of dollars because of the entertainment industry that we have currently through the social media platforms like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, where creating needless, pointless, divisive drama drives millions of dollars into the hands of the least worthy, most spiteful, least intelligent people who have ever graced the stream of entertainment that we inundate ourselves with. And that's where we're at.